founder, Mr. R. Venkataraman, to introduce Professor Yadav.
Dear friends, as special speaker for the week, Professor Yogendra Yadav gives no introduction. Here before this current avatar, as the Aadmi party candidate and spokesperson, he was a familiar figure on various TV channels as a leading commentator, expert on politics, political analysis. His renowned psychologist and political commentator, and has appeared on a number of television channels in India, including Yogendra Yadav. He is a leading academician whose primary interests are in political and social sciences. He has been a student fellow at the Center for the Study of Political Society since 2004. He is also a former member of the University Grants Commission and National Advisory Council of the Right to Education Act adopted by the UK government. He has received the Malcolm Appreciation Award for Development Studies in 2008 and the Global South Solidarity Award by the International Political Science Association in recognition of outstanding work on countries of the developing world in 2009. He has published many articles and books and has acted as a regional advisor for various publications, including the European Journal of Political Research and the International Social Science Anthologies titled Globe Children and Globe Children Dharmshala. In 2011, he took part in the nationwide anti-corruption protest and then later joined the AAP party. He is a member of the National Executive of the party and is also contesting the 2015 Lok Sabha poll at the AAP candidate. So let us hear from Professor Yadav himself about the AAP party candidate and his story in Indian politics. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the ideas. I will investigate the so it's election time, and I'm speaking to the investors. So normally, I should be talking about what my party has in store for investors. But more than investors, and more than anything else, we also students. And this is also the moment to reflect about the future partner. So allow me to begin by framing what I'm going to say in a larger context. And then I'll come to some specifics, and maybe in Q&A, you can be more specific, more concrete, and approaches. Let me hear from you. The non-20th century has ended, and India is trying to find its way to the 21st century. We hear wonderful statements occasionally about 21st century meaning less. Many of us wonder what can we do better? What is the new vision that we have for India? India has significant strides and lessons. Where exactly are we headed? I want to persuade you that the idea of India has taken one significant stride, and that it's waiting for a second big step. And that the big obstacle in the process of India going from idea 1 to idea 2. Or maybe I should use the correct lingo and say India version 1.0 to India version 2.0. What prevents India from going from version 1.0 to 2.0 is its venture politics. I'll come to the venture politics later. Let me say, what is the transition from 1.0 to 2.0? India became a democracy when hardly anyone thought that a poor or largely uneducated country could become democratic. India became democratic in a context where very few post-colonial countries managed to become and retain democracy. Against all expectations, against all odds, against all prophecies, India managed to institutionalize its democracy. If you look at what happened in the 50s, 60s, 70s, democracies kept collapsing all over the world. India did so. And in that sense, I would say India democratized the idea of democracy. This is the moment for India to take one step forward. And that one step forward, to take democracy to its villages, to take democracy to its mohallas, to take democracy to every city council, to get every Indian to feel the fruits of democracy. Instead, they are being given a false option. The options they are being given on the one hand is that of dynasty, which presents itself as democracy alone, and a semi-authoritarianism, which presents itself as strongly. So dynasty promises stability, and semi-authoritarian rule presents itself as strong all over the world. Authoritarian rules have come in the meaning of strong. So just when India was about to take the next step in its democratic character, this is when India will be dragged back. We need Swaraj, not stability or strong rule, understood in the sense in which it is being offered to us. That is one component of the idea of India. The second component of the very idea of India is diversity. I will speak about three components: democracy, diversity, and development, and maybe spending time on it. On the idea of diversity, India has did something unique. In the middle of the 20th century, we imagine that a country which is so diverse in ethnicity, language, religion, it could possibly stay a single united country. India is hard that. India not only without those expectations, India in fact operated a model to the rest of the world. A model which is more relevant than the business sector. A model which has to be emulated in the rest of the world. Because increasingly ethnic diversity is involved all over the world. And democracies have to learn to live with these diversity. India operated in that. Just when India operated in model, just when the idea of India succeeded in this respect, we have been offered two options. What are those options? On the one hand, we have been offered the plain and straightforward by politics in the name of secularism. What passes off as secularism in this country is very often a desire to maintain this group or that group, get their vote somehow, and especially vis-a-vis the minority. It's an attempt to keep minorities constantly under systematic regulation, to keep them under insecurity, and to set up a transaction with them based on their sense of insecurity. Unfortunately, this passes secularism. On the other hand, the option that has been offered to us is very simple majority. We are in majority, we happen to be born in a majority country. We decide the way this country comes. The history of modern democracy shows that such efforts are bound to fail. Not only will these efforts fail, this would be the biggest disaster in India. All we need to do is to look at the history of Sri Lanka to realize what happens when a country is together with fight. Those who took Sri Lanka in the 50s, Sri Lanka took the kind of turn that it took because of the demand that similar language, similar culture must be accepted as the sole cultural representation of Sri Lanka. So it was desire for unity, it was claim for unity, which actually led to civil war in Sri Lanka. And suggests that any attempt to mold India for one religion, one language, one culture would have much worse consequences for it. So, on the second idea of diversity, While India has taken the first step forward, India's political leadership gradually backward. That is our challenge. Let me make it clear. On the idea of development, India had an aspiration to begin with, an aspiration that was unrealized. I wouldn't say that in the first 2 instances I said India had some big success. In the third one, the aspiration is unrealized. And that's what we need to focus on today. Our leaders of our country, right from day one, spoke of 2 things. They spoke of growth, that the pie must increase, that Indian economy needs to grow to fulfill the aspirations, the needs of urban population. On the other hand, our constitution, our leadership, political parties also spoke of justice. They spoke of the need to be able to connect to the last person, fulfill the aspirations and needs of the last person. Both of these remain unfulfilled. And unfortunately in India, the country has oscillated between wanting to try one or the other. And the result very often is that we will realize the Today, we are being offered 2 alternatives for that. Those who want justice want one kind of world. They say justice can be realized if you go back to the world of license, of quotas, of restrictions, of state intervening in everything, of subsidies. But this is the package that is being offered here, not directly but indirectly. On the other hand, there is the mantra of let everything be free, don't interfere with everything. These are 2 things that we have left and right perspective. The challenge that we have to face today is beyond these polarities. And that is where the present political conduct comes in. The point I want to make is that in the last 50 years or so, 50, 60 years, the idea of India has made strides in all these 3 aspects. But today, we are being drawn back. And the challenge for the country today is to overcome the polarity that is being offered to us in each and to move forward. Let me say today about the economic part of development part of this idea of India and how it can be taken forward. There is a perception about the Aadmi party. And I bring in the party now, I bring in the elections now, because to my mind, our Aadmi party stands for the opportunity for renewal of India. The idea of India is can make a transition from version 1.0 to 2.0. That idea of India is renewed the opportunity to do. And my party, the party I represent, our Aadmi party, is an opportunity for the renewal of the idea. As it happens with all new forces, there are misperceptions, there are misgivings, there are apprehensions, partly because we are new, partly because we got a very short stint to present some of the things that we wanted to. And I would like the group members to understand what really stand on this question. There is a misperception that our Aadmi party is one of the most dominant orthodox in the party. That needs to be said right. The word left has often been described to characterize our party. Some words left can mean 2 different things. One, it can mean those who care for the poor, those who care for social justice, those who care for the fact that 2/3 of this country live below the government, those who care for the fact that India has one of the highest malnutrition in the world. If this is left, then the Constitution is there. The Constitution of India maintains every single government to care about this. And I cannot possibly imagine any politics which would not care for this or which should not care for this. to non-market. This is the ends and means that we can do this value. This is the complex. The real problem begins when we start attaching to these steps. And the idea of left, the political left, was not really the idea to say that we should clear the poor and so on and so forth. Left stood for certain way of real arguments. And what was that? The idea that public sector is the solution to everything. That the state must not only provide opportunities, that the state should actually provide food, the state should actually provide things, goodies. The idea that subsidies, primarily direct state subsidies, were the way to run everything. The idea that business and industry needed to be regulated to every single step, and the state was the best arbiter of these regulations, which is what led to license to adoption. Aadmi Party simply does not stand for any of those things. That's the clarification that needs to be made. Yes, Aadmi Party does stand for Aadmi, which is to say, an ordinary person in this country. But Aadmi Party does not stand for that standard package of how to care for the Aadmi, which means something that stifles business, something that stifles free entrepreneurship, growth, and so on. We have repeatedly told ourselves. Aadmi Party has made statements about some of the things that happen in the world of business. We have done so, which has been perceived to be the criticism of everything said. We don't say that. We need to make a sharp distinction between crony capitalism and capitalism. What we have believed all this while, and what we wish to continue to believe, is the idea of it is this state being taken over by the tiny section of investors that and state being misused to serve the interests, not that of country, not that of growth, but state being used to serve the interests of one particular interest house. What we have questioned, and we continue to question, are some of the most unethical practices. We do so because we do believe that this is against the growth story of people. We do not believe that most businessmen in this country want to resort to these unethical practices. On the contrary, it is our firm conviction that an overwhelming majority of business in this country, industry in this country, wants to have an opportunity where they can practice in business. They are constrained from doing so because they are forced to conduct their business. We stand for clean politics. We stand for opportunities where they can practice business the way they do. I was speaking to a friend of mine who is the CEO of a company. He said, look, the number of laws that I'm supposed to obey, not just obey, the number of laws that I'm supposed to display on the wall of my factory, of my industry, I do not simply have that kind of wall space available anywhere to be able to put up all those notices. So I'm forced to live in illegality all the time. This is what much of the older regime has led to. We strictly stand for deregulation of all that. Aadmi Party has made it clear that we are for ease of doing business, that we are for simplification of tax laws, that we want to ensure speedy and fast justice. Much of the difficulties that business faces in our country is because of the red tapeism that surrounds them all the time. This is what we do not want. We want to move away from that. We want to move away from corruption of all kinds that surrounds business all over the country. We believe that the government has no business to do in business. Unfortunately, the earlier form of government was such that the government kept acquiring more and more space for itself. The idea of people's welfare became the idea that government would take over everything. Government would run IIFL, government would run hotels, government would run airlines, government would run all kinds of things. To me, it is really clear why the government should be doing all these things. So yes, we want to move away from that norm. We would like the government to serve the disadvantaged. That's precisely what the government are mentioned to. But the way to serve the disadvantaged is not to even out all in this country. Social justice has been understood for far too long as reducing everyone to equal level of poverty. That's not what social justice is all about. Social justice is all about uplifting everyone to a level of decent living. And how do we uplift everyone? By unleashing growth, by unleashing entrepreneurial spirit, by encouraging manufacturing, by encouraging good business practices, by also restricting some of the bad practices, by also catching some of the most bad, so that we will create an environment. Speaking with CII 2 days ago, my colleague at Yogendra said that clean politics is good economics. And we really get to that. The political environment in which everyone can practice the kind of policies that they should practice, everyone can grow, entrepreneurs can grow. That is something which releases energy, that is what releases the best economic, the best talent, that is what releases the best fundamental. That is what we need to do. Aadmi Party, as I said, stands for clean politics in the country. Aadmi Party stands for a renewal of the democratic of India. All this is at the end of the day. I know you might wish to know on specifics of economic policy. I'm happy to discuss all that with you on June. All I wish to underline is, in the coming elections, there is a big opportunity that is the country. There is tremendous sense of unease, disappointment, and even disgust with the political establishment. We don't have to be psychologist to be able to see that this government is on its way out, that people want them just out. What I would think we will do. We have been proposed to pay for the renewable investment. We have been offered substitutes. The NBU, the BJP, and Mr. Narendra Modi seeks to offer a substitute for within the establishment. Aadmi Party stands for alternative. And we want this election to become an election of substitute versus alternative. Substitute is a substitute from within the political establishment. That could be BJP or NDA. That could also be the so-called third permanent vote. There is nothing that can be together. They do not have any coherent idea. They do not have any idea. There is nothing that actually brings them together. That's not us. So there is an entire political establishment which seeks to offer substitutes for the within itself when the ruling regime wants to die. Aadmi Party wants to offer an alternative from outside the political establishment. We want to offer an alternative because the idea of India can be able to step forward. We want to offer an alternative which is different, which is from outside the political establishment, which can offer real politics, which can offer which can offer an economic planning where the country can prosper, and that prosperity can be shared by the last person, the arm. I stop here and wait for the question. Thank you.
Going to be green economy, land, websites, or these are available in India. If India is a constrained economy, many of these parameters, how do you propose to allocate that resource? That's one specific one. Second is that you do not in every walk of life. So do we expect people to invest something that is area?
On the question of abundance versus constraints, obviously every economy in the world lives in constraints, unless you happen to be living in Sweden, where sometimes actually they have more resources than I do. There are constraints, and yes, resource allocation is an issue. The important question is to have a principle for resource allocation. To my mind, a very simple principle would be resource allocation to be done in some ways that works to the overall advantage of the economy of the country. Because the earlier idea that we do resource allocation in ways that simply gives handouts to people, that idea has simply not worked in the market. What we need is to create opportunities which give more employment opportunities, more growth opportunities to everyone to gain from. That's all I say.
I don't know what's up. To do it with money, you actually, that is one process that you understand happen. I will be louder. So if you allocate it based on an option kind of a process, then basically guys who have money today, you get all of them. So while it may be transparent. If you go back to where it's been done in the past, which is to allocate to people, but they may not be cronies to start with, but they will become cronies. So you have an alternate and let's be specific.
On the question of natural resources allocation, what we have said are a couple of things. A, we have opposed the principle of private monopolies to be encouraged. We have said fair and transparent allocation through certain kinds of bidding. My friends tell me that now there are certain kinds of models of bidding available, which are completely transparent. And that's the way to go forward. The reason why we oppose the kind of old bidding is that it serves no one's interest, or in the name of the people. Certain houses have been created, and it has worked both in this private sector and in this public sector. So that's the process we will oppose. The other question was for disinvestment of industry of something like air and so on. Without pointing myself to any specific instance, I would certainly say that state must step back from certain kinds of activities that are unnecessarily taken upon itself. There may have been some logic of doing certain things 50 years ago when they were the market that are open up in some sectors, opportunities are not available in some sectors. But once they do open up, it is not the business of the state to join up this. It is not the business of the state to earn profit from some activity or the other and to try to use it in something else. The business of the state is to make business possible. And this is possible. where people know what the rules and laws are, where they know that these laws will be implemented there, where they know that anyone who violates it will be punished, and that once they pay taxes, they have nothing to worry about. That should be the task of the state, not to do the kind of thing the state has to do. So we live in an economy which is simultaneously over-regulated and under-regulated. That's what we do.
My question is, from childhood, we are shown the examples of strong leaders. Asked to everyone we want a school, strong leader at school, at college, a strong leader, a strong CEO, a strong woman at home. You mentioned the word semi-authoritarian in the beginning. We have shown examples around the world where countries have grown because of strong leadership, like Korea, China, or other countries. Why is it so much of a problem with some of these semi-authoritarian, there is strength in his execution, or these are not stronger than the others?
I think we need to detach strong leadership from semi-authoritarian leadership. I said in the name of strong leadership, we are being served semi-authoritarian model. You know who we are talking about. In the last 2 years, the country has seen such indecisive leadership. Leadership inclusive of taking any decisions. That I can understand a certain desire to see someone strong, someone who is decisive, someone who is capable, someone who is not constrained by lack of vision and will. That is understandable. Sure, all democracies need that. You need leaders who are not all the time in two minds, leaders who are not all the time thinking over their shoulders. Let's get it. At the same time, you want leaders who are consultative, who actually respond to the inputs they receive, who actually can work as team. And I'm afraid the instance that we are looking at is an instance of leaders who are simply not accountable in any minimum democratic way. It always looks nice if someone bypasses procedures and does exactly what I want them to do. I applaud it and I say, get the procedures, what you've done is lovely, great man. That's why he does something, which is exactly the opposite of what I've done. If I bypasses procedures, and then I say, oh my God, all the procedures have been violated. I think it works to everyone's advantage to be able to say, certain minimum procedures, certain fair practices must be followed, whether the decision that has been fairly or against. So I think the question is determining, yes, capacity to have a clear vision, yes, but conservative also, procedures to be followed. What we have here, once procedures are violated, once we institute people who are seen to be strong people, but are actually deeply undemocratic people, then we are entering a slippery slope where we don't know where we will get. The difficulty is leadership which is courageous versus leadership which is incourageous. I would rather live with leaders who are courageous, who can learn from this, and that is why we need to elect leaders.
Certainly, it's put around the world where people have become leaders through consensus, or go through consensus. Any example of leadership that you just said around the world? Is there a model or an example of a leader, the way you mentioned, can execute, has a vision, but works on consultative procedures or works on consensus rather than of pure vision?
But I do not see consensus. You don't need to have consensus of everything on every issue. It has to be consultative. In fact, some of the best leadership that we talk about beginning with someone like Nehru, at that time, look at leadership all over the world. In fact, most of those places have such every procedure is laid out, that you and I do not even realize that that's a do follow procedure, that they are meant to follow procedure. So most of the strong leaders that we talk about in the world are leaders who follow procedure. It's only in our country that strongness means bypassing all the procedures, bypassing democratic accountability, bypassing responsibility. That's why I really take this procedure.
A couple of questions. Can you hear me? Is that okay? One is, given that diversity of people who are coming into members of the parliament, you have basically where is our multi-party construct and where it actually might. So what do you say about that? How do you second question is, if you know anybody in this group, they will tell you that the one scenario in these elections would be if there are parties that are because we all think that your role would be that of obstructionist rather than people who would work together with and come together and to follow government. What do you say?
Thank you, ask that. On the first question of us coming from different directions, and what do we how do we balance to have some coherence? It is true, we have come from ideologically very diverse directions, we come from politically from very different directions, and a large number of my colleagues have come from non-political background. Lots of people sitting here could well be in my party. So the way we have proceeded is important. We decided that we do not want to subscribe to any of the pre-designed ideological practices. This is or that is. We said that we cannot go at any of the given business. That we have to set our overall objectives, just to have these stated in the Constitution itself. And then do problem solving from case to case, from policy area to policy area. And then while we could disagree with what our overall vision for the next 50 years would be, or some final destination would be, it's absolutely fine as long as we agree on the next semester for 5 years or so. So what we have done is to evolve an overlapping consensus from the different vantage points that we started with. We have arrived at some old consensus statements. And that consensus is important. Some of the points that I mentioned about our approach to economic policy is one of those areas of consensus. Notwithstanding the really outside. And it is true that some in our party did come from orthodox left. Many more in our party come from orthodox right. But we have clearly taken a position that we would stand by some of the things that I mentioned earlier. So we work on that overlapping consensus. The word used earlier was minimum common program. But what we have, unlike other parties, the difference is when different parties have minimum common program, they have the independence but can really attribute work together. In our case, we are evolving our ideology. And this minimum common program in our case is our conviction, which we can do good. And actually within the party, there is much less dissension, much less interest in there is often played out in the media, but I get to hear these things partly because media loves to play out whatever we say. I said something about donations yesterday and I'm told it's being played out in a very curious fashion today. So that's a function of how it's played out in the media. But the differences of ideological policy score, we have to really look at. On the role of the party in the eventual scenario, culture that plus. That's a dream scenario. I must confess for me that's not a nightmare. For the last 25 years, this country has not had a majority government. The last time any party had a clear, convincing majority was 1994. So it's not our Aadmi party who's entry into politics. It may lead to a situation of absence of clear majority in the vote. That is an extended situation for the last 25, 30 years. What role would it play? How would role would it play? Either as constructive or one role we can assume that we will not is to take part of the field that have been made. I will give you these many entries against that it will be discomfort. But which does not, of course, we will not enter into those fields. Of course, we will stand outside that sort of field. But that does not mean that we will be our instructions. My own sense is that we will create a kind of role, that the kind of principle that inform our understanding is better. To get that actual practice of the principle was that we have something to do with government based on certain charter. In Delhi, we said, you can give them, and give these meeting promises to do. Those promises are more important than members. So my own sense would be that we would end up prioritizing certain issues. We would end up saying, these 3 or 4 things are our priority. And whatever we do in this game of government formation, or any role we play, it would be dependent on those 3 or 4 things. And those principles are more important than the number of friends and alliance, coalition, and so on. We do not see ourselves as forming a natural coalition with any of the 3 big things that are included right now, UPA, NDA, and the Federal structure. We would not there. But once we can spell out the principles, we could govern after that. My sense is that whatever we do in the government formation could be based mainly on those principles. So from our point of view, instructions, we might actually end up as the only principle there committee whose conduct can be participated, can be predicted, is well known, and who will simply follow what they say.
I have one question and comment. I think at a high level, none of us can disagree with the economic principles that you outlined. However, at one level, actions speak louder than words. So if you just look at the brief speak with the AAP had in Delhi, if you look at the electricity bill issue, giving people a discount for not paying the bills, giving people a subsidy directly. At the level of social protective, no one can disagree with trying to make the less well off and make their life better through the electricity report. So I think no one disagrees with the objective. But from an investor point of view, of people in this room, when you start looking at things that you reward people for not paying the bills, you just hand out subsidies, it looks very much like the existing structure of buying vote banks through handing out subsidies. And at the principal level, again, no one disagrees with trying to help the poor. But how do you do it? You can also say that I would like to promote investment in water, promote investment in electricity, try to promote competition, bring prices down. That's one way to do it. The other way is I just hand out subsidies and the government has a good respect to this because the government has done well. So I'll stay cash and we go throw that around and buy support. So how do you react to that and what would be a comment on that statement?
I'm glad you asked this question because I think on both these schools, water and electricity, we were so completely this. Partly because we were in such a short window, and partly because of the headline swings that they put on electricity. Our campaign right from February last year was not that electricity is very expensive, let's make it cheap. No, that's not what I said. We never said electricity is so expensive that we're going to be free or we just subsidize. That was not. Our campaign was very simply this, that the manner in which electricity rates have been computed through the regulatory is a fraudulent manner. That there has been fudging, that this thing needs to be corrected, that we need an audit. Our principal demand was there of audit. We said, even in the campaign, we We said we are not saying somehow reduce it to 50%. We are simply saying let's have an honest audit. And whatever emerges from that honest audit is acceptable to us. Our manifesto literally said that whatever comes from an honest audit is acceptable to us. And we were accusing, we were making this very strong accusation, not based on our political view. All these accusations were based on facts, figures, and evidence. And evidence which was collected within the DERC office. It's not a political party which was manufacturing evidence. DERC office had collected that evidence, which gave us very good reason to believe that the entire price determination mechanism had been fudged, had been compromised, and we said this needs to be changed. So when we came to the office, we made two or three promises. We said we will get audit done, no matter what. Even if the companies do not, they oppose it, we will force it. We said we would have a third party checking of the details, which is very important from the end. We need to do that. We said we will get any discrepancies in the details. In the meanwhile, since we said that our expectation is that this will come down, we said we offer something alternative. We have not said that that 50% reduction is permanent reduction. This is only a matter of an interim period, pending the audit inquiry. Once the audit comes, then whatever the audit results is true. That's our policy. So I think in the background of all those populist declarations of the yesteryears, when parties would come to power and say free electricity, free this, we were clubbed together with that. This is not where we belong at all. And this is not what we seek to practice. Now when I show it to them, everyone asks me, so are you going to reduce 50% in electricity forever? My answer is no, it's not at all. Can we? Do you think that prices have been determined in a wrong way? Unless they can be passed. We cannot say something is expensive, make it cheap from tomorrow, no matter what the cost is. This simply cannot be practiced. And that entire experience of electricity boards collapsing one after another through the 80s and 90s is something that we could witness for our economy. On the question of water, again, because of the short window of the device, the real issue in Delhi is not the price of water. The real issue is access to water, availability to water. And much of our manifesto promises were about access to piped water, which one covered times. We said we will make the water distribution transparent. There is no between, there is no bulk between of where water, how much water is obtained from where, and how much water is supplied where. We said we will make sure that we have transparent metering of water. We said we will have some pipes. Our initial, and we said we would begin this by assuring guarantee 700 liters per day for everybody. We said because it is phase 2, that minimum 700 should be made, and those who consume over and above that should cross-subsidize them. Now, please remember, there already was an active subsidy going on in Delhi on water. All we have done is to just raise that limit to the level that international agencies accept to be the minimum water amount is necessary for education. But that is not our basic step on water. Our real step on water, for which I also believe that we are going to much into our real reform of water is about transparency, extension of water pipeline, and ending the paper market. Those were the things. So you are right that one should be judged by deeds, not by words. All I would do is that the deeds to discriminate as
Just one follow-up on that. What would be the reversal of the responsibility of aid?
reversal of
The aid is 50% subsidy if you are not paid.
we have made an institution in the month of February and March last year, and we have called upon to please stop paying fraudulent bills. People who accepted our call, who went by our call, and who said, all right, I will not pay this. They have been penalized, they have been fined. And as a part of the democratic movement, which is our duty, we cannot come to power and then say, sorry, you followed our call, bad for you, now we penalize. What we wanted to do was to ensure, and this is what we have written in our manifesto to say, that they will not be penalized. The only difficulty, we could have restricted it to that. The only difficulty was that those calculations of what was the, because we had said your bills are unfair, we would correct those bills, we would get back to you, and we would say you know. So what the Delhi government has announced is a shorthand way of fulfilling their promise. Now, partly because it is with the idea that we should be able to scrutinize each and every bill and be able to determine which part was fair and which part was unfair. Administratively, it was turned out to be cumbersome, and it was suggested to us that this one simple short solution is much better. Administrative costs of doing it are much lower than the administrative costs of doing the other job. It is a tiny amount that we are talking about. And we do not want to encourage this general principle of don't pay bills, everything will be fine. That's not what we need. But every government resorts to some one-time waiver for certain things in order to make forward. For example, from the recent budget. What does the budget say about student aid? If you all got the budget says that if you did not pay, if you could not pay interest on your education loan for the earliest much, that would be paid by the government. So it is something similar to that.
And also, what is very that the recent system is so bad that in a way, you see that the patient should not be using this system is getting something within.
Much of what we do is about reforming the existing system. What is general fund? General fund is a way of fine-tuning and tweaking the existing system. There is an anti-government, there is the administrative division apparatus. We believe that it needs one additional element. That is what we have to do. We sometimes style gets prioritized over substance. In substance, whatever we do in the government was by way of working with the existing, was by way of pushing the existing system to do things which were much better. Yes, it might give an impression that we were, and there is a dilemma of sounding too much like the system itself, with all its aims, which is not what we wish to be. And on the other hand, sounding to be a party which is so anti-system that we don't believe in anything in this system at all. The latter is not our politics. In fact, if you look at Darwin's books for art, it is about how the existing system can be moved towards a way which is more accountable, which is more responsive. So we see ourselves as a party which is reforming the existing system in the sense of the existing constitutional apparatus. We work on the constitutional apparatus, we want to fine-tune, we want to improve, we want to introduce some strong measures for improving the performance of the system, justice, delivery, and transparency, and so on. I guess the question of subsidy may have created an impression because Some of our steps in the development were viewed as a window to our economic philosophy, which was not the case.
In order to better relate, in order to better relate to what we're talking about, in your mind, can you just tell us which country, what was closest to what you want to attack? Or can you get what kind of
We don't have any other way. The whole point about this was our opposition to any of these established models. And with large country like India, we did not follow any of the existing models. We could turn it around and say, let us think of a country which has the same scale, which has the same size, which has the same complexity, and which has the kind of economy that India has. It would be hard to find that. So the whole point is not to follow any of this. As for the economies that exist, do not follow any of the existing decades solutions, but move towards something which is specifically tailored to your needs. This is what we do.
What is your latest competition and relation does increase? The intentions are very honest, but stumble because of certain issues in get your own sense to issues like, all of the work value politics which is followed, there are still system that it is popular gets worse. Will you actually take a stance saying, I will do the right thing, knowing fully well there will be consequences? These are the examples that we would like and this is going to be unpopular and going to cost me votes, and I'm going to take the principal stance. Like to talk about illegal occupation, very poor people on government land. What would you do about it? It's illegal. You have a law in place that should not be done. There's a humane aspect to it. The second thing is the ability to make choices in life. Question your ability to overcome innate humbleness, the whole history and a lot of colleagues' history in terms of working in the social sector. It has to be driven by very human nature. Very often, hard choices need to be made, which are rational, which have more sensible outcomes for the group. If I see a lot of the comments made by my colleagues, it reminds me somehow of what I assume. In the early 1800s, started burning down mechanical looms because they said it would put people out of jobs. The very process of factories and innovation will always have change, we will have creative destruction, we will have some people getting out of jobs that there is higher productivity. And like, to understand not just from the philosophy perspective, I'm going to put you in a spot. It's isolated. And I'm going to take, for example, food security for global investment community, everybody in the country having adequate nutrition every day on their tables. It's a very laudable job. I don't know that's people are eat. But the food security bill is all political parties are voting in favor of this. Everybody is being this only 2.7% of the income tax in this country. Very clearly, the source of financing is coming from the government itself is looking at the institution between 38 and 50%. The government itself. The government itself is going to the full corporation of India as one structure of what kind of
So you still think that this very policy makes sense to you?
Now, basically telling people that you are not smart enough, by fool yourself for more efficiency. As a government, take money from all of you, steal 50% of it, give it back to us.
On the first point, we have gone against the logic of caste and religion politics, knowing fully well that it costs us votes. Aam Aadmi Party actually broke from that tradition where you looked at the social composition of the constituency, said this community will get me more votes, therefore let me have a candidate of this field. We did not. In Delhi, we gave 2 debates to Muslims in places where everyone said we are racist. Muslims don't contest here, there will be 2%, 3% of the population. He said, no, it's not a case. We'll do it this way, it's the best candidate. No, but we did lose both those seats. Similarly, on the question of class and order, the kind of positions we are taking, we know that it costs us votes. I could think of similar examples for the economy as well. I can use the word relax. I can understand that this is how the position of some of my colleagues may sound, or some of the society in which they articulate might sound. What we have done as political parties is to say, we may have had this behavior as a one of my colleagues said, everything that is not acceptable. Now, all we do is to make sure one part of what this is that any such decision has to be done with public consideration. Public consideration and consideration must have been done. But based on that, your impression, your own position is all based on out. For us, it's an open question. It's a question open to investigation. It's a question open to action. And this is where I think is that which is at core of philosophy. This is that much of economic theory, there is no room for agnosticity. Everyone knows before we start to do something. Everyone knows all big brands are wrong. Every big brand is wonderful. Before we do that, there is to accepted all everybody's impression. We want to really do that element of agnosticity. To be able to say these things, what we don't know, let's look at the evidence. So deeply often, so much of these economic debates are driven by ideologies, almost theology seems to mention as we speak. So much of it is driven by theology. We want to introduce this field of evidence-induced policy. This applies to the question of food subsidy. To my mind, there is no ideological reason why food subsidy must be provided to that people or to some other reason, or why food subsidy should be offered in the first place. I think the constitutional imperative of ensuring a country where no one goes hungry can be met in very different ways. Let us compare going and providing food directly to the person themselves is perhaps the most inefficient and the most expensive way of doing it. Let us do it very much more way. To my mind, it is a question about using the evidence-based, trying to look at different groups, and trying to come up with a certain consensus about which is the most efficient and enduring way of taking care of care. As in our mind, we are in the process of searching and looking for this question. We do not have answers in that question. We do not have certain policy. What we have are certain principles of how do we go about discovering our policy. And the corruption how itself has not really what the policy should or the foreign policy should. And the corruption provides you the starting point. Philosophers provide you the starting point. The second time, we have to take the ordinary of our identity and continue to research after the consultation after very good evidence of we wanted to release that. All that we have to say that We have some broad guiding principles and we want to move forward with this. We are open to people. We are open to them. We are open to them.
Thank you very much.
I will ask my colleagues to request you that like all political parties, especially like the new one to like Aadmi party, we need support for all. We need support in terms of ideas. We need support in terms of time because we are perhaps the only party in the country which has run campaign with appointment. So I would urge you to support us.
Thank you, sir.